Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. I'm Audrey, former paralegal, current stay-at-home mom, lifelong lover of true crime. The cases I cover are wild, topics may be triggering, viewer and listener discretion is advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's dive into today's case. The last case I covered involved the brutal and senseless murder that transpired in April and May of 1980 when Rena Aguilar and Officer Bernie Swartz were murdered by James Richard Odle. I had to tell you about those cases before I introduced the case I wanted to cover today of Amber Swartz Garcia because Officer Bernie Swartz is her father. Kim Swartz was just 4 months pregnant with Amber when her father's life was taken. I do not seem to have enough words to begin to explain the tragedy that the real-life cucuys and lloronas of the world, like Richard James Odle when he took the life of Rena Aguilar and Bernie Swartz, put people through. James Richard Odle took Rena Aguilar's 18-month-old baby away from their mother. Officer Bernie Swartz's 3 children without his father, his wife without a soulmate, and the community that was blessed to have him for as long as they did. Amber's mom and Bernie Swartz's widow Kim, who despite the tragedies that life has put her through, to this day still finds it in her heart to be an advocate for those whose ability to draw breath was taken from them. Something that this badass of a woman has said that will stay with me forever is, and I quote, "I almost lost her at the time my husband died, and I made a little prayer that if I could be allowed to keep her for a little while just to not lose her then, and I got that little while," end quote. She thought she would lose her because when given the news of her husband's death in the line of duty, then 4-month pregnant Kim started bleeding. She was able to cook a little longer and came into the world on August 19th of 1980 with all 10 fingers and toes. Kim met Vietnam veteran Bernie Swartz on a police ride-along when she was just 14. That day, she told her bestie that she was going to marry him. She did not, well, at least not at first. She married someone else at 18 who was abusive and divorced him within 6 months. After her divorce, Bernie came back into her life. He was also recently divorced. Timing is everything. They were a beautiful couple, and when I look at their pictures, I was like, wow, they look like movie stars. They started living together after their first date and were married in August of 1977. Their son Robert was born a year later. Officer Swartz was tragically killed on May 3rd of 1980. Amber Jean Swartz Garcia was born on August 19th of 1980. James Richard Odle was the man sentenced to death for killing Rena Aguilar on April 30th, 1980, and 4 days later, on May 4th, 1980, as the police closed on him, he shot and killed Amber's dad. On May 19th of 1988, a Supreme Court upheld his death sentence. Amber Swartz Garcia went missing on June 3rd of 1988. It was a Friday, and that day, Kim picked up Amber and her older brother Robert from school. They stopped at 7-Eleven for snacks, or as a mom would call it, either a reward for being good while running errands, or sometimes snacks can be a good tool to keep them entertained while running errands. By this time, Kim was a young widow and had met her then partner, Al Garcia, Amber and Robert's stepdad. Kim and Al had a son named Anthony, and at this time he was just a baby. They went to the bank, post office, and then Hilltop Mall, your everyday normal errands. They got back to their Savage Avenue home in Pinole by approximately 4 p.m. Amber's older brother Robert got his bike and was going outside to play with his friends. Amber asked her mom if she could borrow Robert's jump rope and play outside. Kim was getting everything ready for a friend and her daughter to come over for dinner, and they were going to come over shortly, so at first she said no. Kim was a little more overprotective than other moms, not only because of everything she had already gone through, even just then, but also because Amber was diagnosed with bilateral high frequency loss and wore a hearing aid. In 1984, 2 years earlier, Amber got hit by a car as she was crossing the street that she did not hear or see coming. She suffered migraines and took medicine for it from time to time. Bilateral frequency loss impaired her hearing and caused a slight speech delay, but otherwise, Amber was your typical healthy kid, and although she was in a program for hearing impaired students at her school, she was enrolled in a normal classroom. Amber insisted on going and playing outside, so Kim said okay. Amber looked like your classic, typical 80s kid. She was 7 years old and was decked out in pink and white LA Gear tennis shoes, purple corduroy pants, and a white short sleeve top. She started skipping rope with her brother's adult-sized leather rope at around 4:15 p.m. Her brother and his friends see her at the top of the hill, and Robert, in true brother fashion, starts making fun of Amber about how she looked like a bug. So of course he had to see her face when telling her this, so he rides his bike to where she was playing in front of her house and tells her that she looked like a bug. And I thought this was so funny because I have a brother and this is something I can totally see him doing. Go to part 2.